New World's latest Q&A has a load of information for PvP players and just everyone in general, but specifically there's some really awesome changes coming for PvP. We spent a bit of time watching it on stream today. The start of the video, we just sort of recap what I liked about it, what are the big changes, and then the rest of the video is just us reacting to it and watching it together today. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and here we go. Okay, quick recap. This is a quick the things that I gave a shit about during that. So like the light equip load, Brazilian and Shuriken, for example, those perks, they may change others, but for example, those are the two, will scale differently than if you were in medium or heavy. So there's different scaling between different perks between different equip loads. Fucking hell. We're gonna get finally the friendly healing colors, friendly allied colors, allied healing circle friendly colors. A little bit late, but we're getting it. Hopefully it works. My fingers are crossed. So these are coming into the PTR soon. Apparently there's a huge PvP update in a month, which I think has got to do with definitely the way we're going to declare war. So I think the circles, the control points are coming out, the way you're going to do PvP missions, I think that's coming. That was something they discussed in recent videos. So that's massive. They just said PvP update, so it might not be that, it might be more, it might be less, whatever. Debuff in the musket. For the new players coming in again, the full 1 to 60 story will be revamped, like completely finished. I know we've had some done already, but that's the whole story. And then they're looking into the PvE and PvP balance. That's like the big bits that I took away from that. And there were some other interesting bits. Now, I've heard from people that have watched this already last night that this is better than the roadmap. Jack, you're noisy. I know. He's just chatting away. Hello, Star. Yeah. He's like, this better be bloody good. All right, let's jump into it, shall we? Let's see what they got. Probably.
Is there a chance we could see hippos in Aeternum in 2023?
No. Hi everybody, welcome to Forged in Aeternum.
What's up,
where we
Scott?
talk about all things New World. Today is our first Q&A in 2023. I'm pretty excited. Dave and Katie are joining us. So, oh, and of course, Mr. Lovin's going to be asking the questions from behind the camera. Be gentle and let's go.
I would love to know why the most hot topics, problems of the game are either left behind or worked so late that the wave of angry and unsatisfied players is already washed away.
Yeah, this is it's tough because it doesn't, that's certainly not the goal. As a team, we're always all over the forums. We're trying to be as transparent as we can. We're in Reddit. We're in all of the different social media places getting feedback. So we try to get to the problems that we think are the most important and bubbling up. And I think it's important for people to realize that what might be really important for someone is not as important for someone else, but then someone else has something else that's different. So our job is to try to get through those and figure out what is the most important.
I was gonna say, from like a PvP perspective, I know a lot of the guys I play with, we're really keen on good PvP, and then when you look at the wider scale of the game, there is really a lot of people that just don't give a fuck about PvP, and that's, you know, I think we've seen we've seen that for sure. So I understand that, because we're like, you know, player circles are really important, like allied circles are really important. I know they talk about it in here, and it hasn't been something that, you know, I don't think it's been really at the top of the priority list, because there's so many people that just don't get involved in PvP, and outside of PvP it doesn't matter too much, you know?
Important. And then the other reality is some things just take longer than others. And so while it may feel like we're not paying attention to something, you know, in a lot of cases we are, but we don't want to talk about it and say, hey, we're working on this thing that's going to take, you know, 3 months. And it sounds almost disingenuous when we do that. So what we try to do is give you as much detail about what we're working on now as we can without making promises that we don't believe we can hit.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to be super communicative. And we have weekly meetings multiple times a week where we are bringing together our customer support folks, our community folks, our devs, our really highly invested in the game devs who are the 1% of completionists, wild animals. And we bring together all of these people multiple times a week to make sure that what we're focusing on for fixes are the right things to focus on. And as Scott said, some things just take a little bit longer than other things, or take a lot longer than other things because they're design changes and they're not just bug fixes. So that's something that we also have to take into consideration. But we'll definitely try to be more communicative, or as communicative as we can be.
Could you please provide some insight on how the team deals with botting in the game?
Yeah.
I so love that they're going over these things, man. This was the the Twitter, the Twitter abuse videos that they did, and the celebrities taking abuse and just responding to it straight away. It's really cool.
So bots are nemesis, Neshatun and bots. So bots are a very complex issue, and there's something that we do, again, talk about multiple times a week. We have a review with our tech folks. We have a review with people who are putting in more telemetry, are able to detect bots. We take player reports, but we have to walk this fine line of who we're actually putting strikes against and bans against, because there are, and this is a lesson if you go back to many, many videos ago, we thought that some people were bots and they were actually people. They were just so good at what they were doing that they mimicked bots. So we have to try to walk this fine line of the player reports that are coming in, how many of those reports are coming in at different times, not just all at the same time, right? So we need multiple points of contact. We also need to actually have telemetry.
I just want to say, quickly on that whole bot thing, something that I've seen in other games is admins or support would have accounts or have the ability to go into that game. So the way I saw it is, if someone's reported someone for being a bot, he's having some boob. Surely they could go into that. Surely they could go into that server and be like, "Hey, how are you?" And if that person responds with, "I'm great, how are you?" You know they're not a bot. I know that takes a little bit of time, but if you're, I'm sure there's some circumstances where someone or a character is obviously a bot. Ban, fine, job done. But then there's other circumstances where we're not 100% sure. Surely it doesn't take too long. You can just go in there and be like, "Hi, how are you?" And that would be my take on that. But yeah, whatever.
Telemetry, which I'm not going to give anything away because I don't want people who create bot scripts to learn what we're doing. That's also part of this. So another reason why we don't talk too much online about, or in writing or in these videos about what we're doing with bots, because we don't want them learning what we're up to next to try to combat them.
Here's a question. Do you think bots would be such a big thing if RNG wasn't such a big thing in the game? My knowledge around the reason a lot of bots exist and people really push hard to make bots a thing is because the bots can then farm all the resources, and then you can sell all those resources in game for gold, and then you can sell that gold on another website to make real money, aka cash. And without that, I mean, there's always going to be bots, there's always going to be a need, but surely it would be less. Surely there would be a game design that would result in less bots, or the need for less bots. Whereas with New World, the current player base will need hundreds of thousands of the same resources because of the whole gamble side of things. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but surely there's got to be something in the design of games that allow for more bots on one games than there is others. The bots will start using chat GPT. Oh my gosh, dude. I know. It won't be long, huh? It won't be long.
It's hard, though. Our security team is constantly working toward this and chasing it and tracking it. And I'm really proud of the work they've done, because I feel like we're in a much better spot bot-wise than we were a year ago. And it's
I know. I can see the prices of everything going up. Need more bots back. It would lower the price on the market.
continuously getting better. And I personally run into, I don't see them nearly as much as I used to in the game, and I know I play on 1 or 2 servers versus the overall set we have. But there's a lot of effort that goes toward this, and I think we're making pretty good progress.
We totally are. Yeah. And we're still going to keep doing it, right? Bots be bottin', and we be combatin'.
Yeah, security work never ends. It just constantly changes, evolves, and changes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Will the dev team make further rollback changes to armor type, light, medium, heavy? Are they looking at the feedback from previous changes?
Yeah, so I think equip load in our game and the balance between equip load is something that has, evolved over time. If you remember, heavy meta was the thing, at the start of the game. Obviously now we're in a totally light meta era. We are definitely aware of it. We are going to be making some changes, and in fact, they're coming very soon to a PTR near you. We're going to be making some changes And the main gist of it is right now, the idea is that light armor needs to be strong, like do a lot of damage. But the thing is, you can be in light armor, do all that damage, and still feel relatively safe due to certain perks and things like that. So that's really what we're going to tackle. We're going to try to make you have to take that risk. If you want the extra damage from light, you're going to have to be able to take some risks. So some of those perks are now going to be based on the armor of the character. So things like resilient or shirking fort will be less strong if you're wearing light armor.
Will you address why we cannot have blue healing?
I mean, that's such a huge change that's been dropped in like a Q&A rather than, you know, a dev video, let's say. That is huge. War meta is going to change, arena meta, OPR meta, everything's going to change off the back of this. It's fucking nuts, man. Going to piss off a lot of sweaties. I mean, it's going to be really interesting because I think I hope what happens is we still see a lot of people in light, and those people in light are just fucking insanely good, you know, and they get a chance to shine, and there's this sort of somehow, I don't know how it works, New World doesn't really allow it too much, but there's that skill gap that's gonna, you know, start to show. And if you are genuinely good and genuinely understand your weapons versus enemy weapons versus whatever it may be, you can really shine in light, you know. It's gonna be great. But yeah, it's gone from heavy to light to medium. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oblivion, ice storms during
huge, man.
PvP and wars.
Sure. On that very same
Hold
PTR.
on, I'm so sorry. Let's listen to that question again.
Will you address why we cannot have blue healing, Oblivion, ice storms during PvP and wars?
Sure. On that very same PTR Dave's referring to, we will, and you'll be able to play it. And we're so excited for this. It's one of the features we've been wanting to do for a while, and I think it's going to make it's going to change the way war goes for a lot of people. And it's going to change a lot of
OPR.
PvP,
is
OPR.
awesome.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
It's huge, and very excited for this change to come in.
They're absolutely massive changes, right? Okay, so we've got friendly healing colors, I guess. Allied or friendly, whatever you want to call it. That's huge. And then I guess the short of it is if you're in light equals more well, I think the words was if you're in light, then resilient and shirking, for example, maybe they'll do other perks, will scale differently than if you are in heavy. Shit, that's those two things there are fucking huge. As long as I'm getting perma-stunned by 30 heavy unkillable paladins like on launch, then I'm good. Mate, we fell into that meta really nicely because a lot of the guys I played with on launch were bruiser wannabes. You know, we run around with great axe hammers without the knowledge that was going to be the thing. And we out of a war of 50 people, we had maybe 35 people running hammers. All our healers were running hammers. It was just, you know, it was just mental. I miss that feeling of fighting. You know, I miss that feeling. There's no fighting in New World anymore. It's very much, you know, there's someone in the distance pinging toothpicks at me. How do I get to them the quickest way, you know? And what I've found lately is I just take my clothes off and start dodge rolling between trees. That's my only way to get to them. So I'm very excited that this is potentially coming back, because even though the meta was really fucked on launch, I preferred that meta than I did personally than I do this light madness. I prefer to just be in, you know, in a clump of people, even if it's getting out healed, and the way you win was teamwork. That's what I really enjoyed that. You know, and I got absolutely shat on by people like Asmongold and some other fucking idiots who, you know, because we were working really well as a team. So I really like that, and I hope it comes back to somehow find its way in the middle between this light and heavy. And yeah, if medium becomes the play, and then you've got heavies that can actually sustain a bit more damage, and then lights that actually can do a shitload of damage but they can die easy, I think this is ace. I think if they can find that middle ground, then
And we've already been
looking
playing
good
it internally, and it feels really good.
It's also a good plug for the PTR, which is the public test realm, for anybody who's hearing that word for the first time, that when that does come up and we do announce those changes, which we do publicly ahead of the download, that you should hop on, and we'll try to get our community team to run some wars so that you can try it out. They're usually happy to do that. It's just us that need to get it together, and so we will get it together so we can get that tested. But for sure, join the PTR.
And we'd love feedback on it, right? It's takes a lot of people to test war and OPR, and so like as you're playing it, if you see problems, let us know.
Yep.
Roadmap seems to be extremely PvE.
The only issue we have from the EU side is normally the PTRs that run, or the PTR wars were happening around 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. UK time, which is like 3 a.m.-ish in EU, and even later for some. So it's like staying up late at night watching a bloody fight in Vegas, you know. You're knackered for the rest of the next day. So hopefully they find a way to bring that forward, so us loud people in EU can get a chance to get involved as well. We met Heavy Dude with a hammer and axe yesterday. He did tons of damage and didn't die. So was that where were you, Peace? Were you in like PvP? Were you in like OPR or open world, or where were you fighting? Hammer axe is great. It's still very powerful. It is still very powerful, especially if they hit you with those stuns in an arena. The issue is with the hammer is that it's the hammer axe in heavy is still pretty powerful, but it's very, very easy to dodge everything. Like grav wells are very easy to mitigate. You know, sundering shockwave. You know, 90% of the hammer skills are very easy to dodge. So they have to basically wait for you guys to exhaust your stamina to use their abilities. And if they catch you, then you're fucked. But it's very, very easy to dodge now, and I don't think that's a problem. But yeah, when they catch you, let's go.
Eccentric. Is this the direction that the game plans to take continuing forward? Out of the 9 planned content in the roadmap, only 1 is PvP focused, cross-server OPR, and that happens to be a quality of life feature.
Yeah, so when we say 9 planned, it's 9 announced. There's a lot of work going on in the game. So to answer the question really directly, no, the direction is not we're just a PvE game. We have a lot of conviction around supporting our PvP players, and there is significant work in 2023 going toward that. I'm not going to get super specific right now. We will in about a month, though. We'll have a lot more to share on it. And like I said, we just mentioned a PvP feature that's going to show up on the PTR. I wouldn't be surprised to see more over the next several months.
Yeah, I think I'm really hoping that raid groups are usable in open world, and I think they are. If you can have raid groups in open world, I think what we've been doing in First Light 4, for example, having a 20v20 would be so much more fun and enjoyable. If you had 20 people in a raid group and you can see them and you can interact with them, I think that would be insane. And then they've got the changes coming to the wars, like the pre-war things. You know, PvP missions are coming. That's something that they've suggested or announced, and hopefully that's what they're talking about. So if you don't know what it is, what's going to happen pre-war is there'll be 3, well, there's going to be 3 or a couple of circles which you can capture once you capture these control points, like you do a fort, and then someone runs a PvP mission. The bonus that you get through capturing the control points is huge. So instead of running, for argument's sake, 100 PvP missions to declare war, you'd have to run 20. For example, I don't know the exacts, but that's something that's coming, and that's going to change the way we declare war a lot, and that should make it much more fun. Even for people like me, I don't particularly care about being in wars right now. I prefer the open world PvP. Yeah, so that could be huge. What else was I going to say? Tits. Fuck, I can't remember. Whatever. A whole lot of words for a whole lot of nothing. Well, fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. We'll see. They have been pretty good, you know, on the stuff that they did last year. Changes, the quality of life changes. When you look back from launch to where we are now, there's a lot of changes that have happened to New World that makes it genuinely more fun for people. So if they say they're going to do it, I think it's going to come at some point. Oh yeah, that was what I was going to say. Actual like quality of life. So I think we'll see a lot more wars happening and a lot more companies and people getting involved if there was some sort of support with the game. So for example, at the moment what you see is if you're in a big company, when you finish a war or you're in a big territory, there's payout systems that happen, and this takes hours to prepare for wars. Then you get half an hour war, and then you have lots of time after the war or at the end of the week paying people out. Or, you know, what Full Control did when we were there, they had this spreadsheet of participation, and the time it took to set up, it just burns you out after time, because it's such a phenomenal amount. You know, it's not just 50 people, it's 60, 70, 80 people. It's fucking such a large amount of work. It just burns people out, and it just makes people frustrated with the game. So hopefully they can bring in some sort of, you know, if they're going to leave taxes the way they are in the game and companies can earn money, then potentially like guild quality of life stuff. So if I personally wanted to put 1 million gold in the guild bank, you know, potentially there's some sort of payout system that people could get paid out, you know, for the more PvP missions they do, whatever it may be. So there needs to be more for guilds, whether that's just focused around wars and war planning or further afield, you know. So things, just generic things, but yeah. I think if there is some support around that within in-game features, it would make it, I think guys chatting there, I think it would make it more accessible for people who don't have as much time to spend, you know, 5 hours a day planning for a war and then doing the war. You know, it's just a lot more accessible for people. Exactly, man. I did hundreds of PvP missions for my guild and never got paid because I did not do a war. So a really cool feature in Lost Ark, for example, is the more you contribute, the more you do within, there are guild missions set. So for example, maybe the guild mission this week is to chop down 200,000 trees. Individuals can do these missions and then submit that to the company, and then the company gets like upgrades and things. That's how it works in Lost Ark. And then the more you contribute to your company and the more you do PvP missions or whatever the hell it may be, it'll be really fun to have some PvE missions as well. You then get a payout at the end. So it'd be really nice to see if they can build something like that into the company system in New World, because there's fuck all at the moment, and that'd be great. Scott, no, that's a bad pause, man. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, and the combat balance changes we talked about, that was the equip load is one, but there's a number of them, and it's going to dramatically affect PvP. You know, things like the musket will likely be in our sites also. So
the musket.
Yes.
Oh, the musket. Yeah,
so
yeah,
it'll be in
yeah.
our
There it is on the
sites,
back
so to
there.
speak.
Wow, that was good, Dave. How long have you been working on that one?
Well, speaking of that, does AGS see 80% of forum posts about musket and greatswords? Any plans for some balance? Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, we do see it, and I think, you know, the musket, we did try to take action in December with our changes to the damage fall off.
Do you guys think? Obviously, I don't know how much the musket has changed. I don't remember specifically seeing buffs about the musket. But do you think the musket's become more of a problem because there's a lot more light players now, whereas before, you know, there's a lot more medium, or a lot more heavy? Fair enough. I'm still running around in heavy, and the muskets do a lot of damage to me. But potentially that was because of the exploit, you know, with the extra damage and things. But do you think that's potentially? I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate here, because everyone's in light, which means muskets have a lot more opportunity to shit on you because everyone's in light. Most people can't aim, so I don't find a problem. They must get a projectile, problem solved. Yeah, a lot of the games now, like FPS, you have to lead your shots, right? And that would be really cool. So they got the drop off. Projectiles would be nice. Mortal empowerment is a big problem. Yep. I farmed gold with musket. Anyway, let's see what they got to say. This is an interesting one.
It obviously did not achieve the result we wanted. We're aware of that. We are going to be taking some more drastic measures in the upcoming PTR again. The two main things we're going to be doing is, one, we're going to be looking at the accuracy of it and how that works and sort of the gameplay around that. I think it'll require...
Maybe a musket will actually be a musket. Like typically, if you go and look at muskets in other games or history, if you shoot a musket, it's not like a sniper rifle. It's like it's an old school gun that doesn't have perfect accuracy. And in New World, it's got perfect instant accuracy. So that's interesting.
Players to become a little more in aim to hit their shots. So I think that'll
stationary.
A little more stationary. So that'll be big. The other thing is I think mortal empowerment, if you're not familiar with it, is another big cascading factor.
Button item right there.
So it would not surprise me to see some nerfs to that perk in combination with the changes to the musket.
Yeah, and I think it hurt the musket. You know, we made a few mistakes and an exploit got stuck in that only really affected the musket, so it exaggerated a situation that already wasn't great, which is, you know, apologies for that, and we're going to be more careful going forward.
Oh.
Can you discuss how customer support works for New World and the best way to achieve results or actually contact someone at AGS that
This videos like this will go a really long way of the community, man. Really long way. It's really good to see. As long as they do it, of course.
can help with in-game issues?
Yeah, so in-game issues, I mean, that's kind of broad, but essentially anything where you maybe you didn't receive something that you purchased, or you're having an issue with a server transfer or anything like that that's kind of a technical thing, you'll want to contact customer support. Anything that's feedback or anything where you have some time to wait for maybe a dev to respond or a community manager to respond, go to the forums. That's where, you know, if you reach some point where you think that there's a better option for a quest, right? Or you think that something maybe is boring, or you think something's really fun and you want us to double down on that, like that's where you go to the forums. If it's something where you're in a specific spot in the world and there's a problem right there, do the in-game reports. Those tell us exactly where you're located. They give us system information. It gives us a lot of really detailed information that's unfortunately no longer available to players, like your XYZ coordinates. We'll still get those. That was part of our anti-bot initiative. But those are the 3 different paths that you're gonna wanna take. And they do work if there's some issue with that. Again, like, go to the forums, leave feedback there for our community managers, and they are really quick about getting that feedback to us. So if there's something that needs to be done quickly, that's the way to do it.
Can we get more info on the future revamps of zones? We know Brightwood and I think Weaver's Fen are next, but other than that, we don't know anything about it.
Yes. So by the end of the year, our plan is to have the entire 1 through 60 Tempest storyline completed. That may not hit all of the zones, but the storyline and that quest line is going to be all there, and I think it's, I can say that with high confidence.
Awesome.
Was that? I think. Oh, okay. When I thought about future revamps, I was thinking about the design. You know, I think Weaver's is not bad. I think a lot of them are quite unique now. But something like Windswood, I thought was going to get a bit of a makeover. Windswood or Morningdale, I thought they were going to talk about the design of it rather than the quest line. Yeah, so it's going to be a full 1 to 60 story revamp. It's not just a 1 to 30 or whatever we had before.
Weaver's Fen are next, but other than that, we don't know anything about it.
Nice.
Yes. So by the end of the year, our plan is to have the entire 1 through 60
sorry, I know we just watched this, my bad.
storyline completed. That may not hit all of the zones, but the storyline and that quest line is going to be all there, and I think it's, I can say that with high confidence.
Awesome. Are there any plans to revamp the portals to provide rewards outside of shards and gypsum? Could it possibly reward us with umbrals?
I don't want to talk exactly about what the exact rewards are, but I think we still really like you know, the breaches, and I think what we're planning to do is make them feel like a little more of an event, right? So what we'll probably do is reduce the frequency of them, reduce the amount of them, but when they happen, I think they'll be very rewarding, and I think that's sort of the general direction we're going with them.
And
I always used to think that the invasions or the corrupted portals were linked to invasions, sorry. And if you cleared the portals, then you wouldn't get invasions and all that sort of shit. Reduce frequency, up rewards, and add PvP only to them. Okay, thanks, bye. Yes.
And have you considered separating weapon stats for PvP and PvE? Right now, it's not working trying to balance for both when a lot of PvP changes make weapons bad for PvE, like what's happened with the Fire Staff. Separating stats could mean weapons being actually good for PvE, and more frequent PvP balance changes to prevent a stagnant meta without affecting PvE.
Very pointed question, but a good one. Yes, it's super difficult to balance, obviously, PvE and PvP together. It's something we're working on, and we actually do have some tools already in our tool belt, right? Like things like Resilient are PvP only. We have the Banes, which are PvE only. And I think we're going to be digging into those even more as a first attempt at this. I think the perfect example is, I think a lot of people say, hey, ranged weapons aren't viable in high-level content, PvE content, like mutators or things like that. And there's some truth to that. I think one of the things we're going to be trying out, again in the PTR, please come try it out, is making the Banes for ranged weapons even more powerful as a way to sort of amp up the viability of those weapons. That, and we'll also be removing those elemental resistances from the mutations, which really hurt the ice and fire staff users. So I think that's step one, and I think this is a hard problem. It's something we're looking at. We're going to continue to investigate. I think we are going to we're moving more and more to a world where we separate them, but I think doing that in a holistic manner is going to take a while. But these are steps in the right direction, I think.
But I think a statement for the community is we agree with you that something needs to be done here, for sure. Yeah. And if you wonder why I keep looking down, a dog keeps running into my legs down. Yes, this dog.
Can you zoom out to the dog? Is that possible? We need context. Oh,
Give some context here.
we need some context. Chuck is on it.
Amazon has a dogs at work policy where you get to bring your dog, your well-behaved dog, into work, and
bless him.
It's one of the most amazing things. I'm so glad we do it.
And Finn is Finn is a very well-behaved, very cool dog.
Is there a chance we could see hippos in Aeternum in 2023?
No. No, hippos are, I think, I've seen all the people talking about hippos, and I think that it makes there's something really fun about seeing it, but I think that it needs the right environment. I would be more inclined for something of the simian family or something like that to enter first. But at some point, I think we will have hippos in the game. I just don't know when, and I'm not going to give a year.
I'm going to cut the video just to we'll have hippos in the game, like you just said.
You got it. I'm on it. Okay, that's it.
Well, that does it for today's episode. We're going to do another one of these shortly after the next dev update video comes out, and I think Katie had a farewell message.
Make sure to like and subscribe to the Forged in Aeternum series. We love seeing you guys, and we hope you love seeing us.
Where was your that you did last time?
Sniper. This is cool
musket.
when you do this.
Yeah.
No, it's not a musket.
I'm just going to keep it all in there. Okay.
We try
Whoops.
like resilient.
Didn't click that. Okay, quick recap. Jeez. Anyway, this is a quick the things that I gave a shit about during that. So, like the light equip load, Brazilian and Shirkin, for example, those perks, they may change others, but for example, those are the two, will scale differently than if you were in medium or heavy. So there's different scaling between different perks, between different equip loads. Fucking hell. We're going to get finally the friendly healing colors, friendly allied colors, allied healing circle friendly colors. A little bit late, but we're getting it. Hopefully it works. My fingers are crossed. So these are coming into the PTR soon. Apparently there's a huge PvP update in a month, which I think has got to do with definitely the way we're going to declare war. So I think the circles, the control points are coming out, the way you're going to do PvP missions. I think that's coming. That was something they discussed in recent videos. So that's massive. They just said PvP update, so it might not be that. It might be more. It might be less. Whatever. Debuff in the musket. For the new players coming in again, the full 1 to 60 story will be revamped, like completely finished. I know we've had some done already, but that's the whole story. And then they're looking into the PvE and PvP balance. That's like the big bits that I took away from that. And there were some other interesting bits, but those were the important ones that I actually get